LA Confidential is a 1997 American neo-noir crime film directed, produced and co-written by Curtis Hanson. The screenplay by Hanson and Brian Helgeland is based on James Ellroy's 1990 novel of the same name, the third book in his LA Quartet series. The film tells the story of a group of LAPD officers in 1953 and the intersection of police corruption and Hollywood celebrity. The title refers to the 1950s scandal magazine Confidential, portrayed in the film as Hush Hush. At the time, Australian actors Guy Pearce and Russell Crowe were relatively unknown in North America. One of the film's backers, Peter Dennett, was worried about the lack of established stars in the lead roles, but supported Hanson's casting decisions, and the director had the confidence also to recruit Kevin Spacey, Kim Basinger and Danny DeVito. LA Confidential was a major critical and commercial success. It grossed $126 million against a $35 million budget and received widespread acclaim from critics, with praise for the acting, writing, directing, scoring and editing. It was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, winning 2, Best Supporting Actress, Basinger, and Best Adapted Screenplay. Titanic won in every other category LA Confidential was nominated for. In 2015, the United States Library of Congress selected LA Confidential for preservation in the National Film Registry as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Storyline: in 1953 Los Angeles, LAPD Sergeant Edmund Exley is determined to live up to the reputation of his father, famed detective Preston Exley, who was killed by an unknown assailant whom Exley secretly nicknamed Rollo Tomassi. He volunteers to testify against corrupt police officers involved in the Bloody Christmas case in exchange for promotion to detective lieutenant, against the advice of Precinct Captain Dudley Smith. Plainclothes Officer Wendell Bud White is obsessed with punishing men who abuse women, his own mother having been beaten to death by his father. White hates Exley because his partner, Dick Stensland, was fired thanks to Exley's testimony. With gangster Mickey Cohen imprisoned for tax evasion, Smith recruits White to torture and frighten away out-of-town criminals trying to gain a foothold in Los Angeles. While at a liquor store, White also encounters Lynn Bracken, a prostitute resembling Veronica Lake, and former cop Leland Buzz Meeks. Both work for Pierce Patchett, whose fleur-de-lis service runs high-end prostitutes altered by plastic surgery to resemble film stars. Sergeant Jack Vincennes is a narcotics detective who moonlights as a technical advisor on Badge of Honor, a TV police drama series. Sid Hudgens, publisher of the Hush Hush tabloid magazine, tips Vincennes on celebrity criminal activity so that he can make high-profile arrests for Sid's publication. Exley soon investigates a robbery and multiple homicide at the Night Owl coffee shop. Stensland was one of the victims. Exley and Vincennes arrest 3 African-American felons for the crime. They later escape from police custody and are killed by Exley in a shootout. Exley is decorated for bravery. Although the Night Owl case appears solved, Exley and White investigate further, discovering evidence of corruption all around them. White begins a relationship with Lynn and recognizes Night Owl victim Susan Lefferts as one of Patchett's escorts. Lefferts' mother tells White that Stensland was Susan's boyfriend. White searches the crawl space under the mother's house and finds Meek's corpse. He then interrogates Johnny Stompanato, Cohen's ex-bodyguard, who says Meeks was trying to sell a large stash of heroin he had stolen. Hudgens involves Vincennes in setting up a homosexual tryst between struggling actor Matt Reynolds and District Attorney Ellis Lowe, intending to create a lucrative scandal. After Reynolds is found murdered, a guilt-ridden Vincennes joins Exley's investigation to find the killer. Vincennes later confronts Smith with evidence that Meeks and Stensland worked together under Smith's command a decade earlier and dropped an investigation on Patchett, who had Hudgens photographing businessmen with prostitutes in a blackmail scam. Smith shoots Vincennes, who dies after murmuring Rollo Tomassi. The next day, Exley's suspicions are aroused when Smith asks him who Rollo Tomassi is. While interrogating Hudgens, Smith arranges for White to see photos of Lynn having sex with Exley, which sends an enraged White to find him. At the police station, White and Exley fight, but stop when both realize that Smith is corrupt. They deduce that Stensland killed Meeks over the stolen heroin and that the Night Owl killings were to allow Smith to kill Stensland. Smith's men framed the 3 African Americans for the Night Owl murders with planted evidence. Exley and White interrogate Lowe and learn that Smith and Patchett, aided by Hudgens' blackmail photos, have been taking over Cohen's criminal empire and that the killings were because of Smith tying up loose ends. They later find Patchett and Hudgens murdered. Smith lures Exley and White into an ambush. After the pair kill Smith's hitmen in a gunfight, White and Smith wound each other. As Exley holds Smith at gunpoint, Smith assures him that he can explain everything to the arriving police and Exley will be promoted. Smith walks away toward the newly gathered squad cars, but Exley shoots him in the back, killing him. At the police station, Exley explains what he, Vincennes and White learned about Smith's corruption. The LAPD decides to protect their image by saying Smith died a hero in the shootout while awarding Exley a second medal for bravery. Outside City Hall, Exley says goodbye to Lynn and White before watching them drive off to Lynn's home in Arizona. Did you know? At the time the film takes place, no building in Los Angeles was allowed to be taller than City Hall, so the cameras were placed at certain points so that any building taller than City Hall would not be seen. Russell Crowe initially turned the film down as he did not believe he could convincingly portray such a tough character. LA Confidential is the 3rd installment in James Ellroy's LA Quartet series. Lana Turner's private life posed a serious problem for the studios. Her 8 marriages were one element. Another was her relationship with Johnny Stompanato. This film is set 5 years before Turner's most notorious incident during which Stompanato attacked her. Turner's daughter stabbed and killed him in defense of her mother. The trial and acquittal provided a great deal of gossip for several years to come. The title of the film, as well as James Ellroy's novel, is based on a popular series of books by Jack Late and Lee Mortimer: New York Confidential, 1948, Chicago Confidential, 1950, Washington Confidential, 1951, and USA Confidential, 1952, which purported to expose the dirty underside of the title locales, focusing specifically on corruption, organized crime, and sex, the 3 elements of the crime plot in LA Confidential. A magazine named Confidential, fictionalized in the novel and film as Hush Hush, began publication in December 1952 and also took its name from that book series, but focused largely on celebrity gossip. Over the next few decades, many other films have reused the title format of Late and Mortimer's series: Kansas City Confidential, 1952, High School Confidential, 1958, etc., but most of these have made no attempt to follow the primary themes of the original book series, and none have done so as closely as LA Confidential. In today's currency, 2021, the $50 that Jack receives from Sid in 1953 and uses to pay for his drink is worth $514, which makes Jack's decision very significant. Near the end of the film, the chief mentions the new headquarters building opening next year. This is based on fact, and the new HQ was named the Parker Center after the much-admired chief, who was responsible for cleaning up the image of LAPD in the early 50s. Kevin Spacey and Guy Pearce both portrayed prosecutors trying a character played by Samuel L. Jackson for multiple murders, Spacey in A Time to Kill, 1996, and Pearce in Rules of Engagement. 2000. Jackson's character was acquitted in both movies. See you later. Thanks for like and the subscription.